Sorry about that. Hope everyone's doing well, and I hope everyone has had a relatively good trading day. I wanted to go ahead and I was going to make a video and just record it, but I figured I'd just put it on the live stream in case anyone wants to ask any questions. But basically, really what I wanted to talk about is, I got the idea of the hard truth. And one of the things everyone kind of knows it, it's not always talked about a ton, and that is building a trading plan is a lot easier for most people than sticking to a trading plan. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, most people can think through a trading plan and an idea. And when I say a plan and an idea, I mean at the very basic level. The problem is they have a really hard time actually sticking with implementing the plan and actually following the plan. And so what I wanted to really, it's 3:50. The market's been closed for about 45 minutes. And I would love to know as people are joining, does anyone have a plan that they want to share? Or, how did one do following their plan? I'd love to know how someone did. Did they follow their plan? Did they not follow their plan? Overall, how did they do? So how the point with this is building a plan, you can call it a plan, in Systems Academy, we call it building a system. I'm kind of using both of those topics as the same. They're not exactly the same, but in this topic, I'm using it the same. And what I'm basically saying is you first have to implement a strategy from start to finish and know how to operate it and know all the details. So when I say a plan, I don't mean I'm going to buy second entries at the bottom of a trading range. That's an idea. What I'm talking about is you understand your signal bar, you understand your setup, you understand all those pieces. What I wanted to, what I really want to discuss is the actual discipline behind actually following a plan. How do you follow a plan? In the most of you trading, there's everybody at some point in their trading career has had a situation where they end up having an idea and they get punched in the face. And what happens? The idea, they buy the close of a bar, and then the next bar immediately goes down. And they're left with the decision. They know they should probably exit the trade, but can they actually exit the trade? And so, what's the whole point behind all of this? We know we're supposed to follow a plan. Everyone knows you're supposed to be disciplined and all of that good stuff. And when you're building systems or you're building a trading plan, one of the most detrimental things that people end up doing is they trade a system or an idea, but then they start adding in other trades with it. And the problem and the reason is they want the freedom to actually be able to trade the way they want. And what ends up happening is that system doesn't work anymore, or that trading plan doesn't work anymore. I'm going to go ahead and share a couple of things on this chart. So give me 1 second here. So we're looking at a chart here. It's really common for someone to have an overall trading plan, such as, you know, I'm going to, I'm only going to buy if the market is above the moving average for if the market's above the moving average for a certain number of bars, I'm only going to buy. In the market, it rallies, forms parabolic wedge. Then they start to see this and they think, yeah, it's probably going to be a trading range. And then they see this bar 25, and what do? They impulsively start selling, thinking, this is going to be a double top. It's going to be, some sort of measured move down all the way to here. Surely bar 25 is going to lead to a strong bear breakout. So they sell to close. When their original plan or trading system was they're only going to trade in the direction of the moving average if the market is above the moving average for, let's say, 10 bars. And right here, there's 24 bars above the moving average, and it's a big gap up. And they broke their plan right there. They broke their rule. What they end up doing is they end up selling the close. They get disappointed, and then the market starts to pull back. And somewhere in here, those traders realize, oh my gosh, it's a bull trend. I just broke my plan. I did not follow what I said I'm going to do. And rather than owning up to it and accepting the fact that they didn't follow their plan, what do you think those traders do? They sell, they scale in, they get a chance to almost get out break even, and then they just start scaling in. And then what could have been a really small loss turns into a really, really big loss. And so I'm curious. I want to talk more about that. I want to know who in here, for those of you that are watching, how do y'all stay accountable to your actual trading plan? I'm curious to know. I'm going to give everyone a couple of seconds. I would love to know how you guys stay accountable with trading your plan. Do you write your plan out on a sticky note, put it next to your computer, and stare at it all day? How do you stay accountable to your actual trading plan? Okay. I miss my plan. I wait for a new setup. Yeah, it's certainly a good thing to do. If you miss your plan, you wait for a setup. That is absolutely important. And this person says they don't know. They have no idea how they actually, follow their plan. And what I would raise is when you're looking at the market on the open, if you don't have an idea what it is you're looking to do, right on the open, if it's a trading range open, I'm going to do this. If it's a small pullback trend, I'm going to do this. If you don't have an idea, preset idea of the way you're going to trade, you're going to be in a lot of trouble when the day starts. And, I'd ask everybody, I think this hour is kind of like the best for those of you that trade the US markets. I kind of call this reflection hour. It's the market closed about 45 minutes ago, and therefore everybody's mistakes, good and bad, are on top of mind. And you're thinking about how your trading went. Did it go well? Did it not go well? What could I have done better? This is a wonderful opportunity I'd even write it down on paper so you have the thoughts and memories. Think back to this morning. Did you have an immediate action plan of what I was going to trade? I'm going to trade breakouts that are in this size, or I'm going to trade a 3-bar micro channel, or I'm going to wait for the market to form a double bottom. That you trade the chart in front of you, and that's really, really true. And when you listen to Al, what Al can do, a discretionary trader, they have a lot of preconceived ideas of the way they're going to trade. It's kind of like this. I call it like if I had a whatever you call it, where a drawer that you could open up with a bunch of folders in it. And if I had a really big drawer, someone like Al, they can open up that drawer and go through it and find pull out the envelope and find the trading plan that they want that fits the needs of that market cycle and what the market's doing. Most traders can't think that fast, and they'll panic and they'll mess up. So what most traders need to do is have a preset idea of the way they're going to trade. So again, what I'm talking about here for those of you that are new is, or at least new to joining this live stream, how do you follow your plan? And the next question I want to ask everybody, did you know your plan going in before the first bar opened? In other words, did you know your trading plan before the market opened today? That's always important. How well did you know? Did you have an idea of what you were going to do right before the market opened? I'm curious to know if anyone's willing to answer that. There's always a better trade. That's absolutely true. But sometimes that can be hard to believe when a trade goes against you, or when you think to yourself, maybe I'm going to miss out on this trade. But yes, there's always another trade. So who in here knew what the trade they were going to take or the setup they were going to look for before the market opened? It's always a good test to see how well does one understand their trading plan. It's kind of like if you're in a football game and you're a coach for a football team, you're going to have a bunch of plays that you have ready depending on what in situation shows up on that day. And then the next question I would ask everyone is how many people in here ended up following their plan 100% to the letter? So if you're only going to trade in the direction of the moving average, in other words, you're only going to buy if the bars are above the moving average, did you only buy today? Or did you find one sell to take that broke your plan? I've talked about Andrew Miniker, who I've mentioned on YouTube a number of times. He talks about type 1, 2, and 3, and type 1, 2, 3, and type 4 trades and the importance behind those. Jeffrey says, not really. I saw it. A big gap up. I was looking for a pullback in a signal candle to go long. Yeah, it's good. You saw the big gap up and you had an idea of getting a second leg. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. So the point is, what do I want everyone to think about? What I want everyone to understand and think about is, do I really understand what my plan is going into the day? Reason being, if we don't understand what our plan is, we can't measure, did I follow it? The number one way in trading to really be disciplined is to actually have the accountability to follow your plan. In other words, you should be able to give someone your trading results and be able to mark on a chart, this was my plan, and I followed it or I did not follow it. That's a very, very important thing. Can you share things that are necessary general management plans for a system? Well, the first thing, let's think about it. What do we first have to have on any sort of system? Got to have some sort of context, filter for context. Is the market in a trend or is the market in a trading range? Who thinks in here, what are some context filters? What can we use on a chart that's a good context filter? The reality is we could take 5 minutes and have a system or a trading plan idea. And the reality is I could give it to you right now. And there's probably more than half the people that watch this could take the idea and they probably will not successfully implement the idea. That's reality. That's just the hard truth of trading. And that's why I thought of that title, The Hard Truth. So think about it. Let's talk about an idea. Let's talk about a trading idea or a trading plan. I'm gonna turn this off really quick. Give me 1 second here. That's not what I meant. Let's do something fun here. I'm gonna pull out the whiteboard and then let's draw a trading plan. Because I want to give everybody a challenge. Can you take this plan and actually use it and make it work? And the reality is, I don't think most people will. One, they won't be thorough enough in their studies of it to actually know how to use it. And then the second one is those that actually understand it and know how to use it likely won't be disciplined and held accountable enough to be actually to be able to implement the system. So give me 1 second here. I gotta load the whiteboard. So what are some trading ideas? There's one in particular I talk a lot about. I'd like for people to give me some sort of trading idea. While y'all do that, I'm gonna pull up the note. The whiteboard is loading right now. Breakout and second leg. Okay. 3 bar micro channel. Good job, Muhammad. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. So let me figure out why. There we go. Oops. Give me 1 second here. The whiteboard is trying to cooperate. Let's see if it will. Yeah, people are saying a 3 bar micro channel. That's a good one. Breakout and follow through. That's another important one. Absolutely. So the first thing you need is an actual trading idea, such as a 3 bar micro channel. That's obviously the first thing. And you know what? Give me 1 second here, everybody. OneNote's not working, so we're going to try the whiteboard if it'll let me. So the good news is I'm going to talk about this trading plan. The bad news is you guys have to wait for me to be able to actually share it on my screen. Always in, always in's not a system or a plan, but it's a good way to filter things. Let's see here. Promise you the whiteboard is loading. There we go. Come on here. So while I'm talking through this, let's take a 3-bar micro channel. And if we think about a 3-bar micro channel, there's two filters that we need. We need some filter to identify the context, aka are we in a trend or are we in a trading range? What do you think that idea is? I'm gonna give everyone just a second to think about it. Yeah, exactly. It's a trading range. Or excuse me. It is the easiest way. I got a little sidetracked there trying to deal with this whiteboard. The easiest way to measure if we're in a trend or a trading range is the moving average. That could be our context filter. So now we looks like we're gonna work here. There we go. Okay. I can make this make a lot more sense now. So let me move this over here. I'm gonna share this screen. Some of y'all must really like me for rambling for like 6 minutes, not really showing y'all anything. So I appreciate that. Okay. We got a whiteboard working. Now, make sure this is, you guys can see it. So we have a 3-bar MC, which stands for a 3-bar micro channel. So first, we got to understand context. We understand context with moving average. So moving average. Second, what's the next thing we need? Let me actually define this a little bit better. We have the moving average as our context. We'll say overall context. And then we have our leg count for a, I don't know why, but I'm going to call it subcontext. So we have big picture, moving average, little picture, leg count. You're going to need those two things. So those are the first. So we'll say first, you need context, which is basically all of this. Not used to writing on this thing. And then second, we need, what do you think we need? We got to have entry and an exit. You can call it an entry package. You can call it an exit package. And those can be further defined. Let's just say entry first, be a little more specific. You can go into entry, which is basically your signal bar, SB. And if we think about our signal bar, we know what the signal is. It's a 3-bar microchannel, but there's a lot of variations of 3-bar microchannels. Are we going to allow overlap? Are we not going to allow overlap? How exactly are we going to deal with it? I want to load something really quick. Let me pull this up here. So in the comments, does this make sense or not make sense? I know this seems like a very vague and broad thing, but you can actually do a lot with a signal bar and such as a 3-bar microchannel. Then, so once you understand the signal bar, which is basically the entry, and at the same time, you've also got to understand your exit. What do you think about that as a stop and a target? You got to know both of those, and they might change depending on the market cycle. In other words, it might change depending on this area up here. So think through that for a second. And let's just glance at 3-bar microchannels. Here's a 3-bar bull microchannel. It got a second leg. 3-bar bear microchannel. Second leg down. 3-bar bull microchannel. Second leg up. 3-bar bull microchannel. Second leg up. 3-bar bear microchannel. What is that? 39, 40, or excuse me, 40, 41, 42. And then, we got a reversal. So what we have to think through is understanding how exactly do 3-bar microchannels respond in various market conditions. And therefore, we start to have preconceived understandings. Like for me, one method is when I see a 3-bar microchannel at the moving average in a bull trend, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to sell a bar like 42, especially when it's a smaller bar, bigger bar with the tail, and then the biggest bar with the tail, because that's a parabolic wedge on a smaller time frame. 3-bar bull microchannel above the moving average, it gets a pullback in a second leg. So this whole portion, even though it seems really, really small and not that important, I just exit out of the white paper. I didn't, or the whiteboard. Even though it doesn't seem all that important, and it seems pretty minor, all of this does. There's a lot that goes into this. So how do basically the whole point, if I could give a 10,000-foot overview of what I'm talking about, this is kind of like step one. Oh, I go to the left. There we go. That's step one. Step one has a lot of smaller steps in it. 1, 2, 3, etc. Such as studies, understanding. There's various little pieces that make up this large step one. And then the next step, we'll call it step two. You have to understand financials, the financials of trader, to the financials of you, and the financials of the system or idea. And then lastly, we have to understand big piece, this is the big one that I want to talk about. So where, what's the whole point here? The whole point is, and I'll go back to what I just said earlier before I pulled out this whiteboard. Majority of people that end up watching this video, or either right now or on the recording, this is a whole system idea you can develop. Now, the problem with it is that's basically a shell. You've got to build the interior. You've got to understand the entry package, the exit package, the market cycle, how you're going to define the market cycle, all of these little pieces. That's step one. Step two, so this is a big, big undertaking. Step two, you got to understand the financials. You got to understand what you're trying to accomplish for yourself. You got to understand, how you're going to get there. Are you going to trade 1 day a week, 2 days a week, a month? Are you going to trade every day? How many trades do you need to take? What's your overall end goal? That's step two. And then the next portion is also, how much risk can your trading plan tolerate? And then the step three, which is if you can even get to it, step three is discipline and accountability. So how are you going to do that? That is my question for basically everybody on this video. There's all sorts of ways. Most people, it's kind of the whole thing of we fade a small pullback bull trend and we lose a lot of money, or we sell the close of a bar, such as today. We sell and we just keep scaling in and we take a big loss and we say to ourselves, we write an affirmation and put it on our computer. I promise to never fade a small pullback bull trend ever again for my life. We don't do it for a week, and then somehow 2 weeks go by and it's like we had amnesia and we did the exact same thing today and we faded a small pullback bull trend and lost. Why is it that we do that? And the reality is, you can tell yourself all these sayings, how I'm going to be disciplined, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You have to have a way to be accountable. And that's something I've always believed. I've believed it for a long time. That's also something I personally saw with students in Systems Academy. A lot of the students in Systems Academy, just about everyone was able to build some degree of this. And, reasonably, this portion right here, step two. The difference maker for, if I took all the 15 people, last year in Systems Academy, and I took, and a lot of them did well, and everyone kind of varied with how they did. But if I was to take the class and, draw a line down the middle and split the class, half the class on this side, half the class on this side kind of mentality, that line would be somewhere in between step two and step three. There's plenty of people that had a system idea. They could build the system. Step three was the challenge. Could they actually follow the system and stick with it long enough to see a result? That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And so the point with that is you got to have a plan. It's I found a lot of people in Systems Academy, they ended up kind of banding together, if you will, and sending their trades with each other. I'm sure some of you have heard me say it before, and you know, there was a couple of people in that class who ended up getting on Telegram and having like a live trading room session so that they could basically trade their systems together and hold themselves accountable. They would send their trade results to each other with TradeZilla and basically share. And what it forced them to do is they couldn't lie to themselves. It's easy to lie to yourself and tell yourself that you'll do better next time, but it's a lot harder when you're actually sending your results to somebody and they're going to hold you accountable. So the point is that's a big undertaking. All these things. You need every one of these ingredients. You need step 1, step 2, and step 3. And every one of them have their own difficulties. If you're at step 1 and you have a plan, but you can't follow your plan, then you can have the best trading plan in the world or the best trading system in the world with the best financials in the world. But if you can't stick to the plan, it's not going to work. And I would challenge anyone, I'd like to see who could actually make a 3-bar micro channel system that they think or trading plan that they think is, valid. So let's see here. Can we use this as a plan into the upcoming day? Well, sure. My biggest question for that would be how far, this is kind of like this what I just drew. I'd kind of equate it to the shell of a car. We have a frame, maybe some doors on it, but there's no engine. And therefore, you could take this secret, this isn't a secret, this is pretty common knowledge right here. You could take this information. The question is, can you actually do anything with it? That's the big difference. So I'm going to wrap this up here in a second, but I'm going to give everyone, a minute or two to see if there's any questions. The big piece though is actually following your plan. I talked about type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 trades. Type 1, you followed your plan and you made money. Type 2, you followed your plan and you did not make money. Type 3, you did not follow your plan and you lost money. And then the worst culprit of them all, type 4, you ended up not following your plan and you made money. That's a direct, again, I am stealing that from Andrew Miniker. I think he's a really good psychologist and he's got a lot of good stuff on YouTube. I think everybody should watch his stuff. It's really, really good. So I'm just taking something he said. Again, I didn't make any of that up, so I want to give him absolute credit for that. But the point is this. I would challenge everybody. I've been saying in the past couple of videos, and so far there's been 2 or 3 people that have put it in the comments. I'd love to see someone else do it. Can you give me today how many type 1, 2, 3, and 4 trades did you have? Someone made a comment. It's kind of cool. StreamYard ended up giving and they just ended up upgrading their system. You can see it's kind of cool how it looks. Okay, so we have a question. I think what makes it difficult to follow the plan is not being clear on trade management when the trade is not working. This is a really, really great topic, and that is this. You don't have a plan. You think you have a plan, but you have an idea. An actual plan, I kind of think about that trading should be thought of as kind of like, military grade warfare, so to speak. If you have a plan, if you're going to go into, if they, take a country, if they're going to go into combat and into war, they're not going to have, they're going to have a plan with a lot of contingency plans wrapped around it that make up an entire strategy. They're not going to have an idea. So a really good test to see if you have a system or you have a plan, whatever you think that plan or system is, if you just jump into the trade and if you just jump into it and you really don't understand why, that's an issue. All right, everybody, I've got to wrap this up. I appreciate everybody taking the time to kind of hang out with me for a little bit. I hope you all found this information helpful. Be on the lookout. I'm going to start making more videos over various things, and we will talk very soon.